How did indigenous people live before California missions? Imagine living in a land filled with diverse landscapes, from rugged coastlines to lush valleys and towering mountains. Long before the Spanish missions arrived, indigenous peoples thrived here in many different ways. They built complex societies that lasted thousands of years. These communities weren't just surviving, they actively shaped and managed their environments. They knew how to find food in every season and every terrain. They hunted animals like deer and rabbits, gathered nuts and seeds, and fished in rivers and along the coast. They also farmed crops such as maize, beans, and squash. Their farming techniques were smart and sustainable, making sure the land stayed healthy for generations. California was home to hundreds of tribes, each with its own language, traditions, and social rules. The Chumash people, for example, lived in about 150 villages along the coast and on nearby islands. They were skilled sailors and used boats called tomols to travel and trade. These boats were made from wood and animal skins, and they helped the Chumash exchange goods like shells, tools, and food with neighboring tribes. Other tribes, like the Miwok and the Yokuts, lived inland and relied more on hunting and gathering. They knew how to harvest acorns, which they ground into flour, and they knew the best spots to catch fish or hunt game. Their communities were organized and had leaders who guided them in spiritual and social matters. They created beautiful baskets, jewelry, and clothing from natural materials like plant fibers and animal hides. Their ceremonies and stories connected them deeply to the land and seasons. They believed that everything in nature had a spirit, and that respecting the land was part of their spiritual life. When the Spanish arrived in the late 1700s, everything changed. The missions aimed to convert indigenous peoples to Christianity and make them from and work within the mission system. This often meant losing their traditional ways, languages, and spiritual practices. Many indigenous communities faced hardships like new diseases and forced labor, which caused their populations to decline sharply. Knowing how indigenous people lived before the missions helps us understand their strong ties to California's land and their sophisticated societies. It also shows us how rich and diverse their cultures were long before Europeans arrived. When visiting California's historical sites, including the missions, it's important to remember the vibrant lives and traditions that existed here first.